Hello, everyone. Global Boys here, and this is New Amsterdam Radio, the New Amsterdam Session, the podcast for creatives. And I have myself a very special guest because a lot of times our viewers are on the start of their entrepreneurial journey and they're trying to make that jump. But my guest has been doing it for over 2 decades. Please welcome TWK CEO Jose. How's it going, sir?
What's going on, Flobo? Thank you very much for having me,
house, man.
Yes.
No, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure, man.
Pleasure's mine. Pleasure's mine.
Yeah, I'm so proud that we see so many people making the jump to being an entrepreneur, but you also, as a person of color, have done it for 2 decades. I mean, talk to me about that. That must be a crazy milestone.
Yes. Thank you, man. Yeah, pretty much. Started off in music a couple of decades ago. Actually, 3 decades. I'm scared to say how long, but it's been a while. And no matter what I did, no matter what I was in as far as school or having fun, going out, hanging out with the fellas, always had something to do with music. Yeah. So, long story short, I was fortunate enough to have music in me from birth. Son of Puerto Rican parents, so a lot of salsa, a lot of stuff that I thought back in the day was old, right, for old people. And from there on, just pretty much got into the hip hop scene. When I was a teen, Hollis, Queens was known for his hip hop, obviously. And a couple of friends of mine ended up going to a club called the Copacabana in New York City.
Yeah,
I went with them with my brother's ID, which back in the day we didn't have a picture on it, so I got in with my brother's ID, and my life changed pretty much. I got into Spanish music, and I, from that point on, just knew that music was in me. To make a long story short, and here I am today, X amount of years later, with with what I always thought was impossible. Right? You never thought you'd work for yourself. I never envisioned myself to be where I am now. It was more of a hobby that turned into a career.
Yeah, you mentioned that you represent Hollis, Queens, excuse me. Hollis, Queens. I'm a Brooklyn guy myself, and your parents are from a very musical, rich country as Puerto Rico, or Commonwealth as Puerto Rico. How did that influence your approach to music? So look, a lot of people love salsa, but it takes a lot to like it, interpret it, and to find a way to mix and match that for new clients.
Right. Yeah, music is a way of life, to say the least, for a Puerto Rican. I was born in Hollis, Queens. I was literally born in Jamaica Hospital. So I'm part Jamaican. I tell everybody out of this.
Yeah, I remember growing up, passing by, seeing that hospital. Man, it was majestic.
And it's still there. That's the funny thing. Yeah. So I mean, it played a big role in my life. I grew up actually in church. My father was Pentecost. I was the youngest of 4. My sisters were into that disco era, and like I said, I was into that hip hop era. My parents were strong in their Latin roots as far as the music they listened to. A lot of plena, a lot of traditional Puerto Rican music, but for the most part, the party stuff was salsa in our household. Right. And it was pretty cool because I got to learn about it, although I didn't like it when I first grew up. I was strictly hip hop, house music, freestyle, TK, Judy Torres type of stuff when I was a teen. But eventually, when I found out who I really was, whether I liked it or not, my father made sure I knew my Latino culture. I was able to cultivate that into the stuff that I did. So today, here I am, pretty much mashing up. I can do an all-American, all-English party just as well as I can a Spanish party. But it's good, especially in this area of New Jersey, New York, PA. We have a big diversity in people. It's a melting pot, right? It's we're not in Mississippi or Alabama. We have a melting pot of people here. And growing up the way I grew up, my neighborhood at first was Italian and Irish. A lot of people didn't know that Hollis, Queens was Italian and Irish at first. Although I was really, really young during that time, I did meet some friends who were Italian and Irish. So this day, we're still good friends. So I learned their music, learned my parents' music, and me and the hip hop scene pretty much mashed together. And that's what we do today, pretty much for
Yeah, that's very similar to growing up. Like when my parents moved to Flatlands in Brooklyn, it was Italian Irish, and they were really the first Caribbean family that was there. And over time, it shifted
Right.
to Caribbean in the 80s and 90s, and I think now it's shifting to more South Asians, Pakistani Americans, Indian Americans. It's kind of cool how New York has always been diverse, but it keeps like morphing and changing, and different flavors get involved and
Right.
stuff.
Right.
But let's
Specifically
start.
Brooklyn. I mean, you're from Brooklyn.
Oh,
That's exactly what Brooklyn is now.
yeah, even parts of it, man. I walk in there, I'm like, I don't know what a quinoa is, but there's so many quinoa restaurants, man.
That's right.
It's
That's
always
right.
changing.
That's it,
But
Eddie.
speaking of food, man, your brand, it's called the Wedding Kitchen. I need to know why
Yeah.
you decided to go with that name, because it sticks with you. You're like, the Wedding Kitchen? Are you like
Right.
making weddings? Like, what does that mean, man?
You wouldn't be the first who said that. So I used to get upset when I used to hear that many years ago. Now I take it a great son. It's actually our trademark. Makes us different from everybody else. Silver, gold, platinum, diamond. That was something that I didn't want to be part of. I wanted to be different. And the story behind it was my mother pretty much gave us her hidden savings that she had hidden from my father back in the 90s to start our company. So when we started our company, it was mainly, like I said, music, Latin music. But I wanted to honor my mom, in a long story short. So we called the actual business is called Margarita's Kitchen Inc.
Okay.
So in our house, like many Puerto Rican homes, many New Yorican homes, it wasn't come home, sit down, have a cup of hot cocoa, watch some TV. It was always stuff going on. It was hectic. A lot of my father was a very macho kind of guy, so
Yeah.
his word was final. So I don't want to say it was a turbulent upbringing, but it was definitely a lot of flavor. But in the kitchen, in my home in Hollis, the kitchen was always the safe zone. It was the safe room. It was where we sat down, where we ate, where my mom was always in the best of moods, and where I was in the best moods, where we all ate and hung out. It was pretty much safe, the safe zone of the home, and the quiet place where, not quiet, but the safe place. So
Yeah.
when we were looking for a name, and wanted to honor my mom, we called it Margarita's Kitchen Inc. So
Okay.
when I first started DJing back in the day, I was called the Music Kitchen, and simply because it was part of the corporate name, and I was a DJ, so that's why I called it. Then when I met my wife in '02, she's a photographer as well, and when we got married, we decided to join our forces. She said, we can't call this the Music Kitchen because I'm not a DJ, I'm a photographer. And I said, reluctantly, I said, well, what do you want to call it? I don't want to give it the kitchen because it's kind of honoring my mom.
Yeah.
She said, well, let's call it something else. We mostly do weddings. What about the Wedding Kitchen? I said, the Wedding Kitchen sounds good. And there you go.
Yeah, it's funny how like the most quirky things are what makes people stick out. Like when I
Yeah,
DJ at a wedding events, I go by DJ Flopito. So the question I get a lot is, do you speak Spanish? And I studied abroad a semester, but like to me, my first car, I called it Flopito because I'm Flopo. So it's like I treated it as if
right.
it was my own child. And therefore,
Gotcha.
I will treat your wedding the same thing. That's a cool story because I think a lot of people get hung up on trying to have a branded vibe. But if you are authentic to yourself, and it shows that you lead to quality work. I mean, 20 years in the game, I mean, that just tells you right there that you are just excelling at what you're doing. And when
Yeah.
you have clients and they are your bride or your grooms, what do they usually say about you after the fact? Like, what gets to be like repeated phrases in your reviews after a wedding?
Well, it's cool. Of course, we get the fabulous, wow, amazing, which is great. But
Yeah.
my biggest compliment is when the bride and groom feels like they're family, right? Our business was built on family. Our business was built on trusting family, and it's still a family-run business.
Yeah.
So when I hear a client say that we treated them like family, that they felt comfortable, that they were able to relay their vision, and we were able to take and run with it, that to me is like the biggest compliment.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, I was actually reading some of your reviews here, and this one
Hmm.
here is from one of your past clients, and I'm going to be a little bit of a bridge here, but TWK Events, the wedding kitchen customer experience was awesome. It was an absolute pleasure to work with everyone, and they were key in making our day perfect. There's doing the thing. I mean, you are, I assume, a DJ and MC. But the customer service thing has to be an important element. So, what's your approach to dealing with your clients and making sure they don't have to worry about too much if they book you?
Well, again, goes back to the way I was brought up, my life experiences. I was able to live the hood life. I went to John Jay College, so I was able to live the blue collar life. I was a paralegal by trade, so I was able to kind of live the white collar life, if you want to call it that. And
Sure.
I was able to incorporate that with dealing with my clients. I never did business school, so I was never um, taught customer service. I was taught, like I said, John Jay College, New York Paralegal School, and
Yeah.
uh, street education. What I did was I kind of thought I have children and I have a daughter, and we all know that weddings are mainly wrapped around women, right? Guys are there for we're pretty much almost stand-ins, but
What
but
time to start? I'll be there.
right. We rent the tuxedos, the brides buy the dress.
Right.
We tell people to come. The brides they invite the people. So
Right.
in short, I kind of try to think of how well first was trial and error when I first opened. I'm still not perfect, right? But I've learned that if I try to treat the brides and the grooms, mainly the brides, like I would want somebody to treat my daughter, it
Hmm.
kind of comes a little easier for me. So I pretty much listen, try not to talk too much, see what they're envisioning, get a feel of the groom and the families, and try to envision that. Sometimes they don't even know what they want, so I try to
Yeah.
envision it for them, along with what they're telling me, what I think would work, what I know has worked in the past. Present to them my ideas, and pretty much take it off from there. But pretty much listening and just picking up on little cues is the key.
Right. That's a pro tip that's good for life to making sure you are listening, your clients are being heard. You
Right.
had mentioned that your family was a very unique dynamic, a little bit high energy, but I'm sure like they put some values, imparted some values you passed on to your business. And then one of the cool
Yes.
things I realized with my own mom, I mean, she's a person of faith. My mom is Pentecostal as
Right.
well. It does have a different kind of perspective. I just want to see like how
Yeah.
was your upbringing relating to your business?
Um, my upbringing was pretty much black and white. I would say it was
Okay.
either you were in my father's favor or you wasn't. As I've said previously, he was pretty much the uh, the authoritarian in our home.
Yeah.
So he was also a Pentecostal pastor at one point. So pretty strict. He was, like I said, pretty much black and white. This is right. This is wrong. There's not much in between. The biggest thing I would say that I took from my dad, another man who's definitely nowhere near perfect, but he definitely instilled things uh, in me back then, whether it was through a counsel or straight up fear. Either way is implanted in me, and it was to work hard for what I have. Very
Yeah.
rarely do I ask for. Rarely, I've never asked for a handout. I pretty much funded everything after my mom uh, contributed her $800 from her savings, hitting money from my dad to start things up, to incorporate and whatnot. But ever since then, I never was into getting loans. My father was also an entrepreneur. He was a printer as well back in the day. He had his own shop. Never really was into taking loans from the bank or anything like that. It was pretty much, if you can afford to do it on your own, don't do it. Stay
Yeah.
small, work hard for what you want, and pretty much try to keep the trust in family. So,
Yeah.
in a nutshell, keeping a close circle of positive individuals, and yeah, pretty much just instilling that hard work ethic to today's world.
Was it a hard conversation or discussion when you decided to be an entrepreneur, but in entertainment? Kind of like on the surface, seeing the opposite of modesty, if I can be so bold.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a challenge. When I got a lot of resistance too. I mean, like I said, I was growing up to be an attorney. That was my thing. So
Yeah.
I didn't like the politics about it. Um, as life went on, I saw that I was less interested in it, and I always had music in me. What
Yeah.
happened was I was working for a firm in Newark, New Jersey. I ended up moving out to Newark, New Jersey, and I was working at a firm over there, and I really saw that there was a ceiling. For me to make 35, $40,000 back then, I mean, I had to do 80 hours a week, and
Mm.
then
Yikes.
it was tough. It was tough, and I mean, I worked with some great people, and I learned a lot from them. But I knew back then that it wasn't something that I can do. That I had to do something that I liked, and I started doing two things at once. Once I started making more money, and I was always having a great time. But once I started being more successful in the wedding business, in the DJ business, because I was doing
Sure.
mostly clubs and stuff like that at first. I resigned from the 9 to 5, and I stepped out as an entrepreneur. It was very scary. I mean, no benefits, right? Um,
Right.
it was you don't know where your next dollar is coming from. When you go, especially this year, 2020, through a big curveball to entertainment business,
Yeah.
right? So luckily, we weren't affected as much as others in the sense of we were still able to make a living because people are still booking for 2021, and we're able to sustain the economic punch and get us through most of the year. And right now, again, we're back into booking season, so it's pretty cool. We're able to book and make our our bookings through deposits and retainers, and got some parties into the end of the year. So it was pretty cool, but definitely scary to be a entrepreneur at first.
Sure.
But anything that doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So
Right. I hope so. but, but
right.
but let's talk about that. 2020, no one saw the scale. I mean, when you were working for yourself, you can always say there's going to be down months, there's going to be dry months. You know, you
Right.
reap what you sow, save for the rainy day. This thing came out of nowhere. It seems a global pandemic. If you're listening to this in 2026 or something, it was a big adjustment for everyone. All of my
Yes.
jobs are entertainment based. I'm a comedian. I'm a DJ. I
Right.
do live events. You said that you were okay. But the idea, like, what went through your mind when you realized things were not going to be surmised or finished in a weekend or a week or two?
Right. Initially, especially watching the news, being quarantined, being in, it was panic, right? So yeah, at first I panicked, and I was like, wow. I think I started. I think my last wedding was March, the 22nd of March, I believe. I just got that one in, and then the very next day, everything was shut down. So it was a panic, like pretty much a lot of people in the industry. Um, this is my full-time job. I support my family with this. My wife also is like I said, one of the photographers here, Melanie, and we were taken back at first. Luckily, we had savings to count on, and it wasn't as bad as being on the stock market in the Great Depression. We had some reserves, and it took us about a week or two to realize that it wasn't going to open up anytime soon. So
Mm-hmm.
what do we do? So pretty much just we. I knew if I was feeling like that, our couples, brides and grooms, were going to feel 3 or 4 times. It was going to be elevated the way they felt. So I
Right.
made a commitment to myself to, even though I was panicked, not to show it.
Yeah.
Reach out to all my clients throughout the whole year, let them know that we were here. If they had any questions, they can reach out to us, and just pretty much try to give them comfort, and just open up a dialect with them. And believe it or not, they gave me comfort as well. They trusted in in what I thought. I advise everybody start looking to do something later this year, giving them options for a B plan. But
Yeah.
ultimately, I can tell you, what really got me, what made me relax and say, hey, this is all gonna be over soon, was my faith. Like I said, I'm Christian. I opened up my Bible, read a little bit, did some
Yeah.
meditation, and I just listened to myself, listened to my inner spirit, and say, you're gonna be all right. And
Yeah.
listen, God never forsaken me, and I know He never will. So I was
Yeah.
able to hold on to that, get some strength out of my faith, and move forward. And honestly, that lasted. I was panic mode for 2, 3, 4 weeks, and then I got revelation and said, "Hey, everything's going to be okay." Started moving forward. I started getting calls from um, couples who are doing something in 2021. So I realized that the wedding business was going to be, it was going to continue thriving, and that it wasn't going to take a backseat to anything. And here
Yeah.
we are today. Everybody's right now, thank God the phone's ringing every single week. And I am in that unique niche where I can do English, but of course bilingual, and I can reach a different uh, group of people in New Jersey besides just the regular English weddings. I can do multiple language weddings, and hey, I'm getting my phone is ringing. So
Right.
at the end of the day, it worked out, and I'm happy. So, what about yourself, man? How was it for you?
Oh man, I'm glad you asked. So my first, because California opened, I live in Los Angeles now, proper. They locked down a little bit earlier than New York. Because I know when I locked down, my mom and my dad were like, "What's that?" over there in Brooklyn. So I did my
Gotcha.
last wedding March 7th, and I went to Florida for a comedy show. I was doing stand up. That Thursday, and Thursday was the day everything shut down. The NBA walked off the court, and it was a big
Yeah,
serious thing. That flight home was kind of scary, and then it was scary for a while. Much like yourself, I had cash retained from
right.
events in the future, but then it became the song and dance of like, well, this can't go on forever because then you'll have a log jam for 2021. So it
Right.
was weird for a while. My dad is very by the numbers. He's kind of like, well, quit that, do something else. But I was like,
Right.
no, my heart is here. My mom doesn't quite understand entertainment as live because in the Pentecostal faith, they learn to be modest. So she was
Right.
kind of like, I don't know what to tell you, but read your Bible every day, and you can find the right side of things. So it's trickling in for me, and hopefully it gets to stay there more. But yeah, it
Mhm.
was kind of scary because I'm not sure how you took it, but when the world said, "Hey, everything you do to make your living is now non-essential," it hurt.
Right.
it hurt for a bit.
Right.
But
Right.
hopefully coming back.
They threw us a bone, right? They gave us some money to get by for a little while, but
Yeah,
then that was over 6 weeks later.
right.
So yeah, yeah, I hear you,
I
man.
totally get it. But you mentioned in your response that you do both English and Spanish weddings, and about the intricacies and differences of those kind of formats, especially in regions. Because I know in California it's different for a bilingual wedding, but how was it in the New Jersey area for you and your company?
Um, Latinos and Latino Americans and English Americans, Native Americans, not Native Americans, but non-Latino Americans, they're very different in the sense of the actual wedding day. The differences between one and the other is night and day. Like I said, I've done numerous non-Latino events, and they work out great, and it actually is a little more, hate to say it, organized in the sense cocktails at 5, everybody's there at 5 o'clock. Receptions at 6, everybody's
Mm,
there at 6 o'clock. So people understand the value of time in the United States of America. But the Latino American is very different. Our cultures are different. And
yeah.
unfortunately, 5 o'clock means 5:30 for a Latino. 6 o'clock means 6:30, and dragging your feet in at 6:30. So that's a big difference. The Latino events are generally more festive because back in our islands, it's pretty much and there's a reason why people get Latinos are known for being late. In our island, I'm from Puerto Rico, so in Puerto Rico and a lot of other islands, Dominican Republic, Cuba, I know those are just a handful of the ones that do pretty much the same. A wedding is a all day thing. So 12 o'clock noon, in other words, and it's usually held at a relative's home or your home, whoever has the biggest home in the family. And doors open at 12, and you bring whoever you want to come, whoever want to come comes. They bring food for their party and a few other people, and that's how the family does. So they're coming in from 12 o'clock in the afternoon till and they'll not leave until like 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
So Our cultures are based with the way we bless our hosts is by bringing food and more people. So the difference between that and the American wedding is the American wedding is anticipating that envelope, right, for each
Right.
individual that they invite. So those are, and again, 25 years later, especially for the Puerto Rican, the more of the first Latinos to be in the tri-state area, we already got that wedding etiquette. We understand, hey,
Yeah.
my invite said me plus one is going to be me plus one, not me plus one, two, three, right?
Right.
And we
Yeah.
bring an envelope appropriate for the amount of people that we're bringing. So, but it wasn't always like that. 20 years ago, it was funny. You can see the difference. And a lot of times, my wedding is like, and it's not two couples. It's not that the couples both are Latino. A lot of times, is a Latino and non-Latino, right?
Right. Yeah.
So then that changes the entire. That changes the whole the entire ball game. So
Right.
it is my job as an entertainer, DJ, and MC to bring that room together, right? So we have one side of the room who is more who understands who's been invited to more weddings maybe, or who knows a little bit more about the American etiquette of a wedding, and then we have the other room who's not, who's still used to doing it back at home in their
Yeah.
countries or in their little island. And my objective is to get them both together. And how
Sure.
do I do that? Is a couple of different things. Psychology is a psychology game. Try to read people's body language, listen to, look, see what people are enjoying, and just try to blend them. The last thing that you want to do is separate the room, right?
Mm.
Just because I know some people, oh, well, this side of the room is Italian, this side of the room is Colombian, so I'm gonna play Spanish music at first because the Colombians are gonna get up, they're easy to get to dance, and then you're gonna alienate the Italians or the non-Latinos. That's definitely not what you want to do, right? That's not what we do.
Right.
Bringing them together is playing neutral music, getting to having them concentrate on the bride and groom, so that they're the focus of the event. And eventually, after a couple of drinks, couple of jokes, some good music, everybody's on the dance floor jamming out.
Yeah. I hear
Right?
that wedding DJs have like a harder job in some aspects. You have to like know almost every genre at once, right?
Right.
If you're in a wedding and you may have a different culture, different time period, a different age group, and someone's like, play that dope song from this artist in this genre, you have to think not only about that song, but like two songs that go with it, Like, so
Right.
I got to ask you that cliche question, man. What has been the oddest request you've ever received and you still made work at a wedding?
Um, the oddest request. I want the weirdest thing that I ever got was somebody asked me to play the chicken dance.
Oh no!
I hate
No!
I hate to say it. I didn't have it, and I hate to. I don't think I would have played it if I did have it.
Yeah,
Right?
don't hate to say that, please.
Yeah. That's cool. I don't really get a lot of that. I used to, but in the last 10 or 15 years, I don't get too much of that. Simply because I give all my clients an online party planner. They're able to select songs prior to the wedding. So they get, I think, 20 must play songs, 15 play if you can songs, 5 custom songs, and have a do not playlist.
Yeah,
So in my conversation with our brides and grooms, in the booking process, I let them know my style, what I do, what I don't do, what I'm comfortable with, and what I'm not comfortable with. I believe that there's a foot or a shoe for every foot, or back in
yeah,
whatever the saying is, right?
yeah.
There definitely is a shoe for every foot, and I I am very versatile, but there's certain things that I don't like to make a wedding feel cheesy. I don't like
Sure.
weddings to be bar mitzvah-ish, where it's just full of lights and action and no nothing good behind the mic or the turntable. So pretty much with the online party plan, our clients are able to pick music and give me a good idea of what they like. So from their must plays, I try to get them all in, and I know if they like A, they're gonna like B, and if so forth and so on. And I mix what I know works at weddings belong to what they like. And it's funny because at a club it's totally different. When I work at clubs, people come to hear me. I can play whatever I like. I'm not taking requests, right? It's just, hey, you listen. You know what I'm about. I'm playing. I'm getting down, and you're gonna party. At a wedding, it's very different. It's not a club. A wedding obviously has a lot of formalities, a lot of structure. You're working for the bride and groom. They're not there to hear you. They hired you, so you have to get what they want in, and at the same time, they hired us for a reason. So we want to incorporate what we know works with their song selections. One of my DJs though in our company hates Despacito to this day. Right?
Okay. I mean, I didn't hit it at first. I hit it now. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's crazy. But he was like, oh no, Despacito. He was anti-Despacito, and of course, it was the biggest hit. And Latinos and non-Latinos were requesting it. It was almost like Suavemente. That's like everybody's go-to thing.
Yeah.
They don't have to be Latinos. Say, we Suavemente. You got Suavemente.
Oh
and
man,
it's like,
everyone knows Tu Sonrisas way better as a song, but whatever, man.
Right. And none of those two are any of my go-tos ever. Yeah. But that's as bad as it gets in my realm. Thank God. Not too much worse.
I got you. That's cool. Yeah, I like hearing those kind of songs. Chicken Dance is definitely one of mine. It's like, oh man, I don't want to play this one, but I'll do it because it's client first. But
that's right. They're paying. They're paying. Yeah. We playing.
I always chuckle when a couple says, "Whatever you do, please don't play the electric slide." It's like, don't worry about it. I'm not going to. Like I did. I've been
no line dances. No line dances. Yeah. Well, people actually. I mean, I never go to that. But you're right. Yeah. If a client says, "Hey, I want the cha-cha slide," or "I want the Cupid shuffle," cool. I haven't got a request for the electric slide in at least 6 or 7 years on the playlist, so cool.
Cross the fingers, man.
Yeah. Right.
So I know that you mentioned just real quick about, you have a multi-op, you have other DJs that do work for you, and I know every DJ has their own style, but like as an owner, as CEO, how do you do that balance between letting a DJ be their individual, but still having that quality control under your brand?
Yeah, I believe that in order for any company to be successful, you're only going to be as good as the people that you surround yourself with.
True. And
you definitely hit you said it right when there has to be everybody should be original. And I definitely encourage our photographers, all our DJs, be original. That's why you're part of the team. But at the same time, there has to be a certain level of we have to be alike in some things. One of my pet peeves is neatness, right? I like my DJs to have a facade. I like their wires to be hidden. I like everything to be taped down. I want them to get there an hour and a half before the party is supposed to start. I get it. Hey, you got a little setup. It only takes you half an hour. I don't care. I want you there an hour and a half before. So things like that. We all use the same party planner, the same format of how we do introductions, first dances, toast, blessing, a dance set. Then get seated for dinner and so forth and so on. So we kind of keep the same format, which is crucial to us. We share the same library, so all our salsa tracks would be 1,000 salsa tracks in our libraries. Everybody has their top 15, top 20. So we kind of have the same music library. So that's also a big plus. So it's pretty much similar, but just a little different in their styles and my styles, and every individual should have their own style. But not too much talking, get the point in, play your music, clean versions. I don't want to hear cursing and anything like that. I don't want to hear one in your ear, one out your nose, and just keep it clean. Show your individualism. I want everybody to show their color. And at the end of the day, we're there for one purpose, and it's so that the bride and groom can come out and say, "Hey, that was a great event." All our brides and grooms get a pre-party consultation, so they'll be able to review the online party plan, or they'll be able to say, "Hey, I really want to focus on this," or stay away from this. Give my abuelita 1 or 2 plenas, but that's it. So we get a good feel for what they want, and that's how we approach every day.
Yeah, you mentioned your party planner, and I know that as we get past this pandemic on, and this business changes all the time. I've been in it about 4 or 5 years myself, and it's changed. I know besides technology, besides like booking strategies, like where do you see the business going as a professional in this industry?
Good question, man. I believe things are changing as far as the booking process.
Okay.
Before, 95% of our couples wanted to meet in person. I would too. I mean, it gets expensive. A couple of thousand for a DJ, a few thousand for for photography, a couple of thousand for video, 1,000 for
Flowers,
photo
yeah.
booths. Before you know it, it's up there with buying a car, right? The same price of buying a cheap car. But things are changing. So one of the things that I'm pretty sure is changing in the future is how people are booking. Since the pandemic hit, forget there was no in person. Everything was over the phone, Zoom, website based, media based, and stuff like that. So that definitely looks is going to be here to stay. I still believe that people, when they're spending good money, when they're investing in their day, that they want to see who they're investing with.
Sure.
So I believe some of that's going to come back, but I believe in the future going to be a lot of on phone, video chatting, and or a combination of both. And then that's how they're going to book. As far as the venues and how a wedding is going to be, how it's conducted, I believe that's going to be the same. I think it's been like that for a long time. Certain things you can't change. The micro weddings may work for some, but again, most of my weddings are bilingual, based Latino, either one or the other. We don't do anything micro. There's no micro in Latino. It's
Right.
It's big or nothing.
Right. Get everyone invited.
Right. So I anticipate it to be good. I believe if the way my phone's been ringing and the inquiries that we got, if that's any indication of what to expect in 2021, it's pretty good. It's definitely lopsided as far as the beginning of the year as opposed to the second half of the year. I mean, second half of the year is bananas. They're trying to fit 100 weddings in 3 or 4 months. But it looks good, man. Even 2022, we've got some bookings for 2022 in March already. I got some in April for 2022. Oh, nice. So it's a good indicator that things are going to get back to normal. God willing.
Right, cross our fingers. I want before I let you go, man. I was reading this about you, and I want answers. I need answers, right?
Okay.
It says that you went to school with LL Cool J. Is that true?
Yes.
What? Tell me about this.
He was his name is James Todd, right? He hated anybody that called him James Todd.
We like this, yeah.
Right. So I was in junior high school with him. He came in. I went to Susan B. Anthony IS 238 in Queens, in Jamaica. And it was from 6th to 8th grade, so it was only 3 years. He came in the middle of our 6th grade year. And came in with an attitude, chip on his shoulder, just moved, just new kid on the block. And he wasn't in my class. He only had like 1 or 2 classes with me. So I knew him passing by. I mean, if he saw me in the street, he may give me a nod. Whatnot, but he was a cool dude. He came out with "Rock the Bells," "Mama's Gonna Knock You Out," and all that other good stuff. And he came up in the neighborhood. He's my age. He came up. He did. He was positive. Was confident. And the funny thing about LL Cool J, my best friend. I'm not gonna mention his name, but one of my best friends was always banging out with him. It was like didn't like him. He was kind of the same size, a bigger guy, and they were like constantly fighting. So, which was the case with him, a good friend of mine throughout my entire childhood. Anybody who was somebody, he fought with.
Yeah.
So, needless to say, we didn't get the, LL Cool J, he hooked up a lot of people, Damien from Fubu and stuff like that. If you were in his circle, he took care of his. I was never in his circle, right?
You gotta hit him up, man. You gotta get that group photo.
We did a Instagram live, like around during the quarantine. We did an Instagram live. I was on with him for like a couple of minutes. We talked about school, the neighborhood, about my friend and stuff like that. So it was cool. I got it recorded and everything. So he still shares the love, and he's cool people. Now I'm cool with him now, but I wasn't in that circle that he was with. And that's okay, man. Everybody, like I said, everybody has a purpose. My father would have never allowed me to be in a circle anyway. It was lights on in the street, get back home.
Right.
You know, everybody else in Hollis, lights go out, it's time to get out.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah,
It must
very
be
cool,
trippy
man.
though, seeing your high schoolmate on TV every week for 40 million
Yeah.
people like
And I also
that.
had, like I said, Damien and Jalix, the owners of Fubu. Now him I know a lot more personally, and you know he's even more successful. He's in the Shark Tank. He had the
Yeah,
Fubu line and stuff like that.
it's
Yeah,
coming
like I
back
said,
too.
I did a lot of I when I was into the hip hop thing and I was first getting into like the club scene. New York was the melting pot. There were a lot of famous people hanging out. You know, McDonald's in the clubs, Crazy Legs was in the clubs. You know, doing the the bebop thing, b-boy stuff. So a lot of these people were just, you know, the average Joes. Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up, Jose? Well, you know, whatever. They grew up to be pioneers in their industry, you know, and what
Yeah,
they do. So yeah, man, it was pretty interesting growing up in New York City for sure.
yeah, man. That's cool. That's cool to hear, man. That warms my heart.
Yeah,
There's one more question before we get out of here, man. Are you Serato, tractor, or vinyl? I'm just curious.
Serato,
Okay, same
Serato.
here. That's what's up.
Yeah, I'm Serato. I'm Serato. I have the DDJ-Z. I just got the SZ2 as well.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm a pioneer, but I did grow up with the vinyl. I did start off with the 1200s, the Techniques. I was never a master of it. I was never a scratch up DJ. I was always a blend DJ. Try to put three records, match beats on three. That was always my thing. Create with what already was created.
Right.
So when the vinyl came over to DVDs, I mean to CDs, it was for me. It was such a big problem. It wasn't such a big problem like it was for a lot of other DJs who say, "Oh, I will never go to CDs," and obviously later now to MP3s because I was always a blender. I wasn't. That wasn't a. You know, that wasn't it.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was always just matching beats, creating certain beats, looping them with tracks, and try to mix 2 to 4 songs together to create a unique sound. So that's what that was that's what I do now, and it was the transition wasn't as hard as some. I have some buddies who would never touch an MP3. You know, they're still with the
Right.
vinyl with the crates and stuff. But yeah, I allow technology to help. I don't see technology as a bad thing.
I hear you. I got the SX2 and SC, but the thing is, man, if you don't realize that DJ workout, it wears on you in August and September. It's like those
Oh
crates, bro.
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, even today, even with like just the setups today are so extravagant, right?
Yeah.
Back in the day, with a couple of lights on a stand, you bring a mixer and a microphone and you go. Now there's so many, everybody's trying to outdo everybody else. The
Yeah.
brides, they want, it's like a competition. You know, my cousin had this or my sister had that. I got to do better. So now it's 4 or 5 light shows, like for a light show, DMX controlled, sparklers dancing on the clouds. Everything is covered with lighting and LEDs. It's like South Beach in a 4,000 square foot room, you know. So yeah,
Right.
carrying and stuff like that. That is definitely a workout. You don't need to go to the gym. It is a
Right.
workout in itself.
Yeah. It's funny
Uh,
because like actually, ironically, I went to the gym last off season to get the base base athleticism to hold
right.
up, like because I got 15 inches. I got the EV ZLXs. So I'm like, yo, those are like 30-pound man pajamas. You know, you can't be
Yep.
walking there feeling sore 3 days after that. So,
Yep.
that's
Yep.
war stories.
Yeah, man. You know how it goes. It's tough, man.
Yeah.
It's part of the job, and that's a big thing. And I'm glad you touched on that. And the last note I was going to say is a lot of that goes into our pricing, right? There's in our industry, there's a big, hey, why are you 2,000 for a 4 hour reception and Pito over here is $500,
Hmm.
and and in their head they're saying for the same 4 hour reception. So it's confusing, and when people lowball like that on industry, it makes the ones who have been around a little longer and who invest in their craft and in their system, it makes it a little bit more difficult. I try to educate people all the time, especially the younger guys. I got a couple of young guys who grow up and they know me, they heard about us, and I try to give them, say, hey, what should I charge? Well, look what you have, how much experience you have. Look at what the official people in the industry are charging and what they're charging for, and you
Yeah.
evaluate. You make a fair price. But that's a huge thing in this industry. Like why and how or what. A 4 hour party, besides loading and unloading, is going to take for us any given night. Loading and unloading total of 3 hours, right?
Right.
Plus the time that we're there, plus the
Yeah.
time that we have to be prepared for. You're looking a 4 hour reception with a 1 hour cocktail. Let's say just 5 hours. You're looking at an easy 8 hours to 9 hours just on site,
Agreed.
right? So it's when you start looking at it like that, then the preparing part of it. Like if you don't prepare, it's not going to be good. Like, so you have to invest time in preparing. All that stuff creates the price point that where we're at and stuff, and we're trying to educate people in that sense. Be smart, don't gouge, but you have to charge accordingly and stuff.
Yeah, I agree, and that's a lot of creative pursuits anywhere have that same issue. Like you could be very undercut because the function is playing the music. You know, for a lot of people, DJing is playing the music, but it does things that I didn't think will cost as much money, like the tape down wires, or that
Hello.
facade, or you know what I mean. Those are things that put you at a different price point because yeah, your buddy can do it for 200, but does he have insurance if he blows
Right.
down the venue? Like it's just a
Right.
lot of things people don't think about when they think of the music person. You know, so.
Correct. Yeah, man. So it is a revolving thing, but I believe like every day there's a new DJ out there, a new company out there, and that's okay. They'll take the people who want that, who don't care too much about that. And that's fine as well. We're specific in our target, and we're satisfied with who's calling us and the jobs that we're booking. So God is good. Thank God.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to say thank you so much, DJ Prof, for coming on this edition of New Amsterdam Radio,
Yeah,
TWK
yeah.
Events. Tell the world how they can look up you online, how they can book you, all that great stuff.
Flobo, man. Pretty much, if you put down a Spanish DJ, bilingual DJ, if you add wedding to the mix, if you add Spanish wedding DJ or Latin wedding DJ anywhere in the tri-state, New Jersey, New York, tri-state area, we're gonna pop up. So that's the main thing. Just Google bilingual wedding DJ or bilingual DJ land, and you're gonna see us one way or the other. We've been there forever. So
Yeah,
and besides that, of course, Instagram hashtag TWK Events DJ Profit. That's our handle, and it's been working. So that's where we're at.
that is fantastic. Any final words for the faithful here? Any kind of pro tips? Anything you want to share before we get out of here?
Man, just don't give up on your dream. If this is something that you want to do seriously, then take it seriously. Treat it like treat it like a doctor would treat a pre-surgery and how he would act during surgery. Just give it 100%. Educate yourself in it. Give the client good product, and the rest will fall in place.